welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, on site, on location, inside of the Travel Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I'm here with K.C. Keeler, the head coach of the Temple Owls here football program, and heading into a new era for Temple. Yep. And appreciate you being here. Thank you, Coach.
I appreciate having me.
Now, K.C., when you look at something that I've heard covering Temple for over a decade now, you hear Temple Tough all the time. Is that still the moniker? Is that still
there's
a part
no
of it?
question.
Okay.
There's a Temple Tough. It's just not something they say. It's something they do every single day. I mean, Temple's a unique place. You know, Philly's a unique place. And so, that Temple Tough thing, that's not something that is just talked about. It's something you live every single day.
And so coming in for you to this team, like you say, you live it every single day when it comes to Temple Tough. How have you, prior to coming to Temple, lived with that toughness in your life?
Yeah, so I think, I pride myself in handling adversity. And one of my great prides of being a college head football coach for 32 years was having a team that was 0-8 and having a team that won 3 of the last 4 games of the season. And, that team struggled because we had won a national championship. We had won 21 straight games, and now we're transitioning up to FBS football, and we're 0-8. But you could see that the culture kept them together. The culture was like, we're going to keep on working at this thing. And I love telling the story. I went home for dinner, and my wife said to me, you seem like you're okay. And I said, I am okay. She said, well, you're 0-8. You shouldn't be okay. I'm like, I'm okay because those players are giving me everything they got. Yeah. It's a culture we've developed, and we're gonna be fine. And we won 3 of the last 4, dropped a touchdown in the end zone against Western Kentucky. We won 4 in a row. Then we go 10-3 and win a bowl game. And I go back to that 0-8 when we were 0-8. Those kids kept on battling. They kept on trying to get better. They kept on trying to get it fixed. So I think that's being tough. Like when things aren't going your way, you're not throwing in the towel. There's a commitment level. We signed up for a full 11 games or full 12 games, and we're going to play all 12 of them. And that's what that team did that year. And by doing that, it gave us a chance the next year.
And you speak to culture. What are some of those foundational pillars for you when you're building the house in Temple, so to speak? What are those pillars that you need for your culture?
It all starts with them understanding we're in this thing together. We are absolutely in this thing together. And you got to put winning first. And the other thing is that, if you're realistic, don't play for me. I don't want to hear about being realistic. How fun is being realistic? And that's how I sort of started off my first team meeting. I talked about, expectations. And I said, I'm a guy that I'm taking over a team that's 3-9, 3-9, 3-9, and 3-9, 5 straight losing seasons, have won 1 bowl game in 13 seasons, and I'm talking about not only winning bowl games, but going to a conference championship, winning a conference championship, and see if we can get in the big dance, because the winner from this conference can do that. I said, and that might seem a little unrealistic, but quite honestly, to some people that might even seem crazy, but that's okay. If you don't reach for those big dreams, you're never going to get there. And so I told them that. The other thing is, I said, I want passionate people. If you're a guy who want to punch the clock, you're again wrong place. I want guys who have passion. I want guys who will put winning in front of everything else. I want guys who are going to be great teammates. I kind of laid the groundwork there with letting the players know, this is what you're walking into. You're walking into a guy who isn't afraid to put those lofty goals out there. Is tremendously passionate, and again, if you're realistic, you're playing for the wrong guy.
Well, and what I love about that, and I'm hearing you say that, and I created my own business. We just turned 13 years old, left the ESPN and the Fox and the different places where I had worked to start my own company at 26 years old, 27 cents in my pocket, $103 in my bank account, and taking care of my grandmother so she could live at home at the time. In her 90s, I think she was 91. So if I had been realistic, so to speak, I would have never created a company. So you're speaking my language. Do you have any spots open on the team? But, in all seriousness, to live a life like you said, I don't want someone who's realistic. To have that be a piece of what you do, a theme of what you do. Have you always been that way of saying, listen, I'm not going to take what box people put me in. I'm going to say what I'm going to do, and however crazy you think it is, I'm going to work my butt off to do it.
Yeah, so I'm with the University of Delaware playing football, linebacker, maybe quite not as tall as they wanted to pro NFL linebacker. So I started transitioning down to maybe play safety. And I encouraged Tubby Raymond, my head coach, to get me in their mini camp. I went in and, thought I did a pretty good job. And the defensive back coach said, hey, you did a nice job. Like, I know you're transitioning. If you get yourself to where you want to be next year, give me a call. What I heard was, hey, son, you can play in the NFL. What he was saying was, hey, nice to meet you. So what I did was, I took a year off from my life, and I trained. And I called Fred Bruni up, the defensive back coach. And he didn't really remember me right away, but he said, yeah, come on by. And at 188 pounds, I benched 380, and I ran a 4.53, and they signed me that day with Dick Vermeil. And he remembered me then. And I was like, I hope you remember me. I took a year off from my life.
Yeah.
And I went down to the last cut 4 times, and twice with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I could walk away from that knowing that I gave it everything I got. And that's my whole thing, is like, go for your dreams. And if they don't work out, that's okay, because you know what? There's going to be something else for you. And my wife always says, if you wouldn't have gotten cut, you probably wouldn't be where you are now in terms of coaching, because you would have been playing and maybe taking a little bit different direction. But yeah, I mean, I love those guys who aren't afraid to put those challenges out there and then go out and get them.
And so, I mean, essentially, when going off of that, some people look at adversity and they want to run from the storm. I'm a believer that you'll never find out who you actually are unless you have the adversity.
Right.
So going through it for you and the adversity that you've had in your life, how has that molded you to the person that I'm sitting next to today? Yeah,
so every obstacle is an opportunity. So when there's an obstacle, you can't look at it as how this is going to stop you. You have to figure out how you're going to benefit from this. Yeah. And so that's how I've always looked at life. When an obstacle is thrown at me, it's not like, how's this going to stop me? How can I actually use this to move me along and actually make it a positive, not a negative? And I try to explain that to my players. I said, these are football lessons. These are life lessons, because it's not all going to go your way. It's just that life doesn't work that way. And so when you're knocked down, you have to say to yourself, okay, like, how can I make this a positive, not a negative? And that's what I've always done my whole life. All those negatives have become positives.
And as you step forward, that making a negative into a positive, the American Conference covered this conference since before it had a name and a logo, and now in the rebrand of it being the American, not the AAC anymore, the American Athletic, in this rebranding and the expansion of the college football playoff, what makes you believe that this conference should have a seat at the table every year when we're talking about the college football playoff, and at least 12, if not 16?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to earn it. But I think if you look at revenue generated, and if you look at national polls, you'll see year in and year out, this is the 5th conference. So you got your Power 4, and then you have 5. And what we have to do is, like, we all play those Power 4 games. We got to win some of those games. It's tough for us to pound the table if we're not winning some of those games. So we play Oklahoma and Georgia Tech this year. I know the rest of this conference all has at least one, some have 2 of those Power 4 games. Winning those Power 4 games, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're here. So I think, there's enough here in terms of, like, talent, and it's a tremendously coached conference, and the schedules are hard enough that if we go take care of our business, we absolutely should have a seat at the table.
And you say Temple has seen different coaches come through a lot in recent history. If things had gone well for Steve Adazio, he moved on. Matt Rule moved on. Yep. Jeff Collins moved on. Stan Drayton let go. It's been a lot of turnover.
Yep.
What do you want to say to Temple fans about the K.C. Keeler era and how long you would like to be leading?
So one of the things I try to show is that it's deeds, not words. We're in the process of trying to sign 30 high school players. If I'm trying to hit and run this, it's probably not a good formula. I'm trying to build this from the ground up. And so, if you just look what we're trying to do and how we're trying to build Temple, we understand that there's better high school recruits for us now because everyone's living in the portal. And we also believe the area we're in, that Connecticut down to Virginia out to Ohio footprint, there's great high school recruiting. And Temple's gotten away from recruiting that area, and we have to get back into that. And that's what Al Golden told me, and that's what Matt Rule told me. And it's something I already knew, but I wanted to hear from them directly. And they both told me the same thing. So, I think, like I said, at turning 66, on Saturday. I'm not looking for a next job. I'm thrilled with the challenge that this is in front of me, and I'm also excited about the opportunity because Temple's a much better job than people realize it is. First of all, I've come to our practice facility. Got to freshen up a little bit, but it's spectacular. You get on campus, it's amazing. And then if you just look the fact that, right now, today, if you're looking at the rankings in terms of recruiting, we just put together the 75th best class in the country. That happens because we got kids on our campus and they saw Temple, they saw Philly in a different lens. They also saw our players and they saw how they interacted with each other and with the coaching staff and with the support staff. And they see the family we have there. So, yeah, I think Temple is a phenomenal job. And I think I'm going to be in a lot of 50-50 games this year. And to win those 50-50 games, we'll have to play great special teams. We're going to have to be in great shape. And we're going to have to play clean. And that's one of the things I try to explain to the players. It's like, you have to know your scheme inside out so you can play fast. Because we're going to play a lot of games that are going to come down to a player or two. Yeah. That's the nature of this conference.
We do something on the show here on WakeUpCall called Rapid Fire. It allows people get to know you a little bit better,
sure.
And it allows you to do something you never get to do as a coach, which you get to ask questions. So you and I will go back and forth. You get to start. It could be any topic, football or non-football related. What do you have for me, Coach?
Favorite hobby?
That's a good question. I would say probably going to the movies. I love shutting my brain off. I like screenwriting and creating myself. So I would say I could go to the movies like 3-4 times a week just to be immersed in something.
Yeah.
I would say. My question back to you, Coach. If you created a K.C. Keeler meal in Philadelphia,
yeah,
what would be on the dish and why?
So I'm a big fruit de mare guy. I love my Italian food.
I respect it.
And when I was in Texas, they had no idea what I was talking about. And so one of the first things I did when I got to Philly, I found a great Italian place with Little Italy's right there. And I found a little fruit de mare with clams and shrimp and the little, escargot, mussels, the whole deal. So, in fact, I had a version of that 2 nights ago in Rehoboth Beach. So, find myself a little fruit de mare.
Okay, well, I respect that very much so. That's a good answer. So, all right, what's your next one for me?
Okay. Let's see, movies. Are you a, like real life or are you like thrillers?
I probably would say I'm always going to be a big kid at heart, so I would say, I'm a superhero fan, but I do very much like the movies that teach you something and bring you to some part of history. I think Oppenheimer's probably one that really sticks out, where you're like, oh wow, this is a pretty intense movie, and then your brain's like, this stuff happened.
Yeah.
There's
it's
a lot.
Real. Yeah.
So I think having a little bit of real in there is not too bad.
Yeah.
My question back to you, Coach. Okay, so I'm going to give you a 3-parter. You can go anywhere in the world on vacation that you've never been. Where do you go? You can take one person you know, and you can take one celebrity with you.
Okay, so my wife and I, when I do retire from doing this, we want to go to Italy.
Okay.
I'm taking her, and so I can take a celebrity, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She loves Tom Cruise. I'm taking, and you know what? The guy does his own stunts. You got to respect the hell out of that.
He does.
So we're taking Tommy along with us.
Okay, I just went to Italy with my dad. It was an 11-year promise, and we just went.
Very nice.
So I would tell you, absolutely, do not pass that up.
Yeah.
Gotta go. Okay, you got one more question for me. What's that question?
Okay. What is your favorite dish? Like, you're going out to. I would at Sam Houston. We had Death Row. I could see Death Row from my office window. Okay. We had 15 prisons in a 5-mile radius. We were part of the prison. The prison system was all around there. And so when I would meet a transfer in front of the team, I'd say, okay, Death Row, what's your last meal? And they look at me like, no, that's a real question because we have, I happen to, Sam Houston is part of the prison area there.
Yeah.
And so what would be your, what's that meal? What's your final meal going to be?
Man, well, being Italian and Hispanic, I'm going to make this meal last so that I can come up with an idea to break out of jail. So I would say that I would have my G-mama, my mom's mom. I would have her stuffed shells. I'd have my Gammy, my dad's mom's. I'd have her chicken chicken soup with the bow ties. I'd have my mom's turkey rolled, which is like a mini, like turkey and stuffing, like a mini Thanksgiving. And I would have my dad's blueberry pancakes, and that would give me enough time to break out.
There you go. Now, see, that's where the fruit de mare came up. The kids would be, so Coach, what would you have? I said, well, I'm going to have fruit de mare. And they're like, fruit de mare. And I was a little Caesar salad. And then I'm going to finish it off with a little carrot cake. And, oh, yeah. So that's how the boys would always say to me at Sam Houston's, like, fruit de mare, I don't think this thing exists. I said, no, it does exist. We just don't have a whole lot of Italian here in this part of Texas. So
if you go to a really nice Italian restaurant, they should have that. My final question for you, best piece of advice that you've ever received and who gave it to you?
Okay, so a guy named Fritz Halfaker was a high school coach of mine. I had him for a year, my sophomore year. And the thing that he would talk to the players, because drinking was and alcohol and drugs, we all kind of go through that life of trying to figure out how we're going to manage those things. And he would always say, like, listen, it's going to be your choice when you get older if you're ever going to drink or you're ever going to smoke. That's your choice. But never do it to change your mood. You can't use that as a crutch. And I always remembered that. And, so like I won't even have a glass of wine after a loss because it's like we lost and I'm not going to try to change I'm not a big drinker anyway. I'm just not who I am. But it's just something really stuck with me. And because I've seen so many people that have tried to change their mood through drugs or alcohol when things aren't going their way. And just that simple, concept of like, if things aren't going your way, never use a substance to change what your mood is. And I kind of stuck with me forever.
Great piece of advice that a lot of people should take. K.C. Keeler, your new head coach for the Temple Owls football programs as we step into the 2025-26 season. And of course, here on Wake Up Call inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios on site at the American Kickoff. Coach, it's been my honor to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk with you soon, and make sure you go support Temple in Philadelphia and beyond.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Coach.